The Public Servants Association says its members are preparing a nationwide strike. It all comes after wage talks with the government failed. The employers are insisting on an increase of 3% that the union has advised members to reject. Joining us now is Claude Naicker, spokesperson of the PSA. Very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time. Now, we are watching the determination of Transnet workers who are not willing to budge when it comes to the offer that's on the table. The majority of your members have rejected government salary increase offer. You now also preparing for a strike in the public service. Talk us through the process. How have you come to this conclusion?
Yes, thank you. A very good afternoon to you. You will recall that we declared a dispute when the government offered a 2% salary increase, and that prompted them to up their offer to what is currently on the table, a 3% pensionable salary increase and a cash gratuity ranging from 1,200 to 1,600. I think we have balloted our members and asked them to give us a mandate whether they will accept that offer or not. They've outrightly rejected the offer that's currently on the table. We are still in talks with the government or the employer to try and come to some sort of amicable solution, but we're not seeing any light at the end of the tunnel. So we have declared the dispute, and in terms of the process, you need to finalize picketing rules, which we are in the process. We hopefully will finalize the picketing rules by Monday. Once we've done that, then we will obviously give notice to the employer, 7 days notice to the employer to embark on industrial action. Our program will start with picketing during the lunch breaks, and then it will then tantamount to a full-blown strike in the public service. We're hoping in the interim that government will come to the party and we can try and find some sort of solution before we embark on strike action. But if that doesn't happen, our members have mandated us to hit the streets at the moment.
I'm hoping the quality of this feed will remain stable as I ask you about the statement we saw last week, Acting Public Service and Administration Minister Thulas Nxesi, as well as the Finance Minister, saying that the employer's current and final offer stands at 7.5%. The ministers are indicating that the offer is now off the table and that it will not reopen negotiations on the current offer. What are you then hoping to achieve with your upcoming strike?
Yeah, look, I think there's a power play during negotiations. There's a lot of power play, but I think also the statements are a bit misleading. You will recall that public servants did not receive a salary increase in 2020. Government reneged on the 3-year agreement. As a result, in 2021, we settled on the cash gratuity. Now, that cash gratuity is a non-pensionable allowance. It tantamounts to around 4% increase. So what government in the statement has did is that they've taken the 3% that's currently on table and they've added it to the cash gratuity, amounts to about 4.5%, and they've indicated that what's on the table is 7.5%. This is entirely incorrect. You must recall that the cash gratuity is a non-pensionable salary increase. It was a stopgap measure that we in the interim agreed with the employer. We signed an agreement so that the employees will not be out of pocket going forward. So I think what's currently on the table is a 3% pensionable salary increase plus cash gratuity that they've been enjoying from last year, and that cash gratuity is in lieu of any salary increase. Now, currently on the table is that the employers indicated that that cash gratuity will stop at the end of 31st of March 2023. Now, I think most of the unions in the bargaining council are concerned about that, because if that cash gratuity does stop next year, members will be worse off. They will be placed in a position before we even started negotiation. They will be out of pocket and they will be severely affected. You must realize that the inflation rate is above 7.5% at the moment, and we're currently sitting at our demand at 6.5%, which is below inflation. But to try and find an amicable solution, we're looking at the 3% pensionable offer that's on the table at the moment, plus the gratuity. I think the elephant in the room is that we are asking that the cash gratuity should continue beyond 31st of March next year. In the event that we do not finalize salary negotiations for the new year, that members will not be out of pocket. So I think a lot of unions are haggling about this particular clause, especially the protection of the cash gratuity. If that can be settled, I think we can come to some sort of solution at the moment. It's up to the employee now to come back and amend that clause and to say, listen, there is some protection that can be afforded, and I think we can look at the agreement critically. Nobody wants to go on strike action, but we've left no option. The employees indicated that the agreement is off the table, so there's nothing left for us to do but ultimately go on strike action.
Government, on the other end, is arguing that the wage bill has grown faster than economic growth over many years. As you try and address the elephant in the room over cash gratuity, what sort of response have you received from the employer? And also maybe paint a picture for us on the impact of not being able to get the increase over the past 3 years on workers.
You would recall a lot has been said about the public sector wage bill over the last month, in fact, the last year itself. I think when the time and the economy was conducive, we as unions in the public sector have negotiated increases. We've negotiated inflation-linked increases, not real wage increases, but inflation-linked increases, meaning that our demands were linked to inflation. So when we settled on any agreement as far as salary increase was concerned, it was tied to the inflation. That's what we said, and that's what we agreed with the employer. So in the past years, we've agreed on inflation-linked salaries. However, in the last 3 years, you've noticed that we've been getting increases well below the inflation rate. And the cash gratuity that we got was not even pensionable. So that set public servants further back. A lot has been said on the impact of the economy. We do appreciate that, and we very strategically and we very well thought when we formulated our demands. We took all this into concern. And currently what's on the table is far less than what we actually demanded. And I think we are at a point where we're saying if we continue longer with the wage negotiations, our members are going to suffer detrimentally. We're willing to make some sort of concession where we are willing to accept a wage offer that is well below the inflation rate, well below what we have demanded, a cash gratuity which is non-pensionable. We're also taking a knock there. So all in all, we are looking at a demand that is well below what we call a reasonable salary offer that we think that the employer should be offering. So it's not a situation where we are demanding over-the-top salary increases that will have a severe impact on the economy itself. You will also remember that we've been very harsh in the media, criticizing the maladministration, the corruption that's happening in the public sector. Where's all this money going to? It might seem like a cliched statement, but if all that money was recouped at some stage, perhaps that money could be utilized to afford public servants a decent salary increase. You must remember, for an entire year, we sacrificed and we did not take any salary increase.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time, Claude Naicker, spokesperson of the PSA.